It began with a simple TikTok and an alarming rumor. Multiple bodies found from Massachusetts to Rhode Island within weeks. By mid-April 2025, social media was ablaze with talk of a New England serial killer. Internet sleuths were tying discoveries of human remains and bodies found up and down New England to one single killer. On Facebook and TikTok, a private group, originally called New England Serial Killer, now rebranded, surged to tens of thousands of members. Conspiratorial posts claimed victims were dumped at scenic parks or trails, but authorities warned these were unverified and dangerous rumors. Still, the fear spread. Hashtags like New England Serial Killer trended, and a new Boston area horror story gripped the internet. A surge of body discoveries. The panic was fueled by a string of gruesome finds between February and April 2025. In early March, police found the first suspicious remains. On March 6th in Plymouth, Massachusetts, a hunter unearthed a weathered human skull in woods near Route 3. Authorities noted the bone appeared old and would take time to identify the victim's sex or age. That same day in Connecticut, Norwalk police diving in the Norwalk River recovered Paige Fannin, 35, of West Islip, New York. Fannin had been reported missing the night before. Norwalk Lieutenant Thomas Podgorski told reporters there was no indication of foul play or relation to any other death or serial killer in her case. The following week brought two more discoveries. On March 19th, Connecticut state troopers found Suzanne Wormser's body stuffed in a suitcase near Colonel Ledyard Cemetery in Groton. The remains, a female between 40 and 60 years old, were believed left there in mid-February. Groton Police Chief Luis Fazzaro cautioned the public, "Don't rush to judgment," stressing investigators had no evidence linking this case to any other. Just 2 days later, on March 21st, announced March 25th, New Haven detectives recovered the remains of Denise Leary, 59, in a wooded lot near her home. Leary had been missing since September. New Haven police later confirmed the medical examiner found no signs of foul play in her death, even as online forums speculated wildly about the circumstances. Another woman's remains surfaced by month's end. On March 26th in Foster, Rhode Island, state police discovered Michelle Romano, 56, in a wooded area. Romano had disappeared the previous August. Rhode Island investigators called the death suspicious, and it alarmed local residents. Romano's family even posted on Facebook to quash serial killer rumors. "We know that Michelle's passing is in no way related to any type of serial killer," they wrote, thanking police for their work. April saw yet more finds, but again investigators did not see a single killer at work. Connecticut State Police announced on April 9th that unidentified human remains were found in Killingly. The CSP stated the inquiry was ongoing and saw no information at this time suggesting any connection to similar remains discoveries, adding there was no known threat to the public. On April 10th, firefighters near Framingham, Massachusetts came across a body while fighting a brush fire by the Massachusetts Turnpike. The Middlesex County District Attorney's Office quickly ruled out foul play. Information gathered at the scene does not indicate foul play. Around the same time, a boater in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, found a body in the Seekonk River near the Providence line on April 20th. Media reports confirmed the recovery, but released few details. Then in late April, the heart of the panic hit Massachusetts again. On April 22nd in Springfield, police found 45-year-old Megan Meredith unresponsive on Hall of Fame Avenue riverfront bike path. Meredith was pronounced dead on scene, and her death is being investigated as a homicide. Even here, local officials warned that this homicide was an isolated incident. By April 25th, a body was discovered in the woods near Chandler Avenue in Taunton, Massachusetts, identity unconfirmed. 2 days later, on April 27th, a boater alerted Rocky Hill, Connecticut police to a corpse floating in the Connecticut River. Rocky Hill officers reported the body was retrieved, the medical examiner notified, and the investigation was active. Massachusetts State Police and DA's offices issued statements after each find. In every case so far, investigators emphasize these appear to be separate tragedies, accidents, natural deaths, or isolated homicides, not the work of one person. Information gathered at the scene does not indicate foul play, one DA noted for Framingham, and Springfield's DA warned that unverified claims can compromise active investigations. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts' North Shore, Salem police reported a separate incident. 2 men were found shot to death near Highland Avenue's Walmart district in mid-April. Police quickly arrested a suspect, 68-year-old Jay Blodgett, and Chief Lucas Miller said he believed this is an isolated incident and the perpetrator is under arrest. The Salem murders were not linked to any of the other discoveries. Social media conspiracy theories. Online chatter amplified every discovery. Videos on TikTok and memes on Facebook named this phantom killer the Woods serial murderer or the New England beach killer, citing each new death as evidence. The Facebook group behind the theory swelled to over 67,000 followers. Reddit threads shared rumors that months-old police activity was covering up a mystery, and horror stories circulated that serial killers often leave bodies in parks. In reality, detectives say most of these cases had no foul play or had already been explained. Authorities repeatedly addressed the social media hype. New Haven Police sent a statement directly to local news. "We are aware of speculation on social media of a serial killer. Ms. Leary was reported missing. Her remains were found. The cause of her death has been ruled undetermined. However, there were no signs of foul play found during her autopsy." Groton officials echoed this message after the suitcase case. They identified the victim, 58-year-old Suzanne Wormser, and announced an arrest, stressing the suspect was a known acquaintance. The Groton mayor warned that many rumors and fear-mongering on social media had made the region seem unsafe, when in fact the murder was a standalone crime. In Rhode Island, police even investigated one wild Facebook tip that a serial killer had buried 6 bodies near a popular beach. They deployed cadaver dogs and searched, then later confirmed it was a hoax. Police in all 3 states urged the public not to jump to conclusions. Connecticut State Police spokesman Jeff Spaulding said there was no information at this time suggesting any connection to similar remains discoveries and no known threat to the public. Norwalk Lieutenant Podgorski told People magazine that their inquiry into Fannon's death showed no indication of foul play or relation to any other death or serial killer. Salem's police chief labeled the double homicide an isolated incident. And in Massachusetts, the district attorney bluntly warned, "At this time, there is no indication that these incidents are connected to each other or part of a larger public safety threat." Behind these statements was a common theme. If detectives saw evidence of a serial pattern, they would undoubtedly alert the public. Boston 25 News security analyst Dan Linsky put it plainly. If law enforcement had reason to believe there were any connections between these cases, they are obviously going to share them and work together on that. And then, when appropriate, reach out to the public to notify them of what's going on. Instead, what emerged was piecemeal. Some bodies were old, some showed no trauma, some are still unidentified. Investigators have asked everyone to leave official inquiries to law enforcement and to disregard lurid posts and live streams. Official responses and expert analysis. Law enforcement agencies in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island have all publicly debunked the serial killer theory so far. The Middlesex County DA's office in Massachusetts emphasized that the evidence at crime scenes so far does not indicate foul play. Connecticut State Police and New Haven officials both noted that these remains do not match in a way a serial killer would typically leave them. Serial killers tend to stick to one particular sex, Connecticut's chief medical examiner James Gill told reporters, underscoring that investigators look for a common modus operandi. Of the dozen bodies found, some are male, some female, suggesting multiple causes or culprits. Criminal justice experts agree that while the killings could merit review, evidence of a single killer remains elusive. Retired Connecticut Police Chief and William Devon Howell case lead James Wardwell cautioned that each discovery is a real person who is loved and missed. Wardwell reminded the public of Connecticut's own history. Howell was a confessed serial killer who murdered 7 people in 2003. His advice now is sober. Treat each case carefully, not conflated into a headline. Philadelphia attorney and former DA Matthew Mangino told Fox News that the string of remains merits review and investigation by authorities, but he also warned that the deaths could turn out to be natural deaths or accidental rather than homicides. John Jay College's Brian Higgins, a former New Jersey police chief, noted that while 7 of the 8 known remains were women, a few might not be connected. You have remains of 7 people. That doesn't mean necessarily all 7 are victims of a serial killer, he said. It could be 2 or 3 victims, but it brought attention to these deaths. Massachusetts criminology professor Craig Dunton also weighed in on Western Mass News. Serial murder definitely does exist, but it's not most frequent. He cited FBI data estimating only 25 to 50 active serial killers nationwide at any given time, meaning about 1% of homicides. In other words, he reminded viewers each case is more likely a unique tragedy than part of a large conspiracy. Historical context: the shadow of past killers. New England has had its share of notorious serial crimes, which adds to today's anxiety. Social media users have drawn parallels to the Connecticut River Valley killer, an unidentified suspect blamed for 7 stabbing murders, 1978 to 1988, across New Hampshire and Vermont. In Massachusetts, memories of the Boston Strangler, Albert DeSalvo, who killed 13 women in the 1960s, linger in pop culture, though that case ended decades ago. In Connecticut, the Howell case mentioned above was still afresh in many minds after his arrest in 2007. Rhode Islanders recall the 2000 murders on Block Island, which involved a convicted killer, and Cape Cod has seen its own infamous serial offender arrests. All of these stories feed a communal unease whenever unsolved deaths pile up. Criminologists note that real serial killers often leave more obvious patterns than we see here. As Connecticut's chief medical examiner said, they typically target victims of the same sex or type. The current victims include men and women of varying ages, found in rivers, woods, and roadside areas, with different causes of death so far. That lack of a clear pattern, and the fact that suspects have already been identified in a couple of cases, supports the official position that no single suspect ties them all together. The danger of fear in the social media age. By late April, authorities across New England were pushing back strongly against the speculation. They reminded the public that most of these people were known to their families and communities. As one Rhode Island detective put it, this is not just a missing person. They are sisters, brothers, sons, people who are loved and missed. Each body represented a grieving family, not content for internet sleuths' theories. The People News team quoted New Haven police spokesman Christian Brockhart, who put it plainly, "There's a mystique about serial killers. People are fascinated by them and the possibility of them, but they do exist. In other words, fascination can easily outpace facts." District attorneys and police chiefs warned that unverified claims online might compromise active investigations. At least one actual investigation, in Groton, was briefly slowed by so much online noise until tips refocused the search back to the neighborhood. In the end, officials emphasized that evidence trumps hype. As the Massachusetts DA noted, none of the known cases currently shows anything like a serial pattern. The FBI has even offered assistance to rule out links in the Connecticut cases. For now, authorities in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island agree. No serial killer has been confirmed. Instead, they point to loose threads, mental health issues, accidents, one homicide, to explain each death individually. The final sobering reminder comes from Wardwell and others. Every victim is someone's loved one. In the social media echo chamber, fear can spread faster than facts. But as of April 2025, the evidence shows scattered tragedies and coincidences not a brand new monster stalking New England. Viewers should remember to check the facts, rely on police reports and confirmed forensic results, not internet speculation. In today's 24/7 news cycle, anxiety can go viral, but the truth will emerge only through diligent investigation and time.